Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. My name is Danny from Fitness with Dan, and today we have another beginner's program. So this one is just body weight. You don't need any equipment. You can do this at home, and we are going to be focusing on the abdominal region. Okay, so we're going to do a little circuit of 4 exercises. Now today we have some shoulder taps, mountain climbers, some alternating side planks, and some dead bugs to finish off. So all those 4 exercises we're going to work through 30 seconds a piece. You'll have 30 seconds to rest at the end, and we're going to do that 4 times, and that'll be your 10 minutes. So if all of those exercises are familiar to you, or you don't want any coaching on them, please skip ahead to the video. If you do want a little bit more understanding about what it is you're going to be doing, stick around because I'm going to go through them now. Before we go through the exercises individually, I just want to talk a little bit about the abdominals themselves. So we know that the abdominals have a lot of different functions, okay? We know that they move us in various different directions, but one of their most important, if not the most important thing that they do, is protect what's underneath them, okay? Particularly our spine. Okay, so one of the first things we want to do when we're learning to train this region, or just train in general really, is how to switch them on, engage, and make sure your spine's supported while your body goes through other movement patterns. So these 4 exercises today, they are all going to be based around bracing here and resisting movement. So when we're talking about training this area, or training in general, we need to talk about breathing, okay? Specifically intra-abdominal pressure. Now, when you breathe in, when you inhale, you're going to decrease the pressure here. When you exhale, you're going to increase it, okay? Really, really important thing to know. And obviously the more pressure, the more support you have here. But you can also dictate how much pressure you have by the way that you breathe out, okay? So if you just listen to the way I breathe for a second. Okay, so I want you to put your hands on your stomachs. Do this with me now, guys, and you're going to do that exact same thing, and pay attention to what you feel in this area, okay? Okay, so you may have noticed that each time you went up a level in the breathing, let's call it, you felt more tension, more pressure, more support, okay? So the smaller the hole that the air is escaping through when you're breathing out, the more pressure you can produce, okay? So you can dictate how much pressure you have based on how you're breathing, and you'll choose that type of breathing based on how much support you feel you need here when you're exercising, okay? So this is extremely important, particularly when we're looking at resisted exercises like this that are targeting this area here. So for most exercises, it's going to be optimal to breathe throughout the duration of the whole exercise, and sometimes it can be very easy to figure out when and where and how to breathe. For example, if you were to do just a push-pull type action, you'd breathe out on the hard phase, in on the easy phase most of the time. With this, it can be a little bit different. This is going to teach you guys quite a lot that's going to have a great carryover to all the types of training you do, because it's not quite clear when you should breathe. So please bear that in mind while I explain the exercises, and you'll see how that kind of fits in, and that's going to help us learn to brace and support when we're doing exercises. Okay guys, so shoulder taps. We are in a plank position, knees up, knees down, whatever level suits you best, and what we're looking for is wrist directly underneath shoulder, hips locked in, abdominals nice and tight, glutes nice and tight. Okay, and all we're going to do is tap a shoulder like so, but our main goal here is what's going on with the rest of the body, okay? We want to avoid rocking from side to side, okay? We want to be moving very, very slowly, very, very deliberately, and we want to imagine we've got a beer on our backs and we are not allowed to spill that. Now, in terms of where your hands and your knees or your feet go, you can dictate how hard you want the exercise to be by using those. So the closer you've got your hands together, the more support. The wider you've got your knees or feet, the more support, and vice versa. Wide hands is hard, close feet is hard. Okay, so find distances that it's going to make this challenging for you, but not so challenging that you start rocking around too much, and can't brace and hold this properly. Now, breathing. Have a look at how I breathe, or have a listen to how I breathe. Okay, so you notice there was quite a high pressure breathing. It was a ch, not a ha, because I needed a lot of pressure here. Now I exhaled when my hand came off the floor, and I continued that exhale for the duration the hand was off the floor. When that hand went back down, I inhaled. Now, reason being, you've got 4 points here, right? If you've got all 4 on the floor, you need less pressure. If you take one off, you need a lot more pressure here, so you just don't start rocking around and falling over, okay? And that concept is pretty much going to go the same for every exercise we do here. So mountain climbers, almost exactly the same rules. So plank position, whichever you choose, and then we're looking for wrist under shoulder, hips locked in, exactly the same. And this time we're just taking a foot off the floor. If you're doing this on your knees, then you can take the foot towards the outside and try and tap the elbow. Okay? And like I said, exactly the same rules. Just instead of a hand, it's a foot. Okay, so you breathe out the entire duration, but the foot is off the floor. Breathe in when it comes back down, and you've got those 4 points, that square or rectangle of stability. So alternating side plank is a little bit different, okay? But the same concept is going to apply. I'll show you the exercise and then we'll talk about breathing. Okay, so I'm going to show you the full version and the kneeling version. So your top leg goes in front, bottom leg behind, elbow directly underneath the shoulder, and then you're going to lift up and raise a hand. Okay, so this is just a normal side plank. When you go to swap over, you're going to rock onto your toes, put the elbow down again directly underneath the shoulder, and rock into this position, okay? There we go. Now if you're doing the kneeling version, all you're going to do, bend your knees at 90 degrees and do the exact same thing. Okay, elbow under shoulder, lift up. Now when you go to pivot here, you want to kind of imagine you've got a band tying your knees together and tying your ankles together. So I roll onto the front of the knees, right? And then onto that side and keep them tied together. Now, the biggest mistake that we see people doing this is what's going on at the hips, okay? I mean, the idea of the exercise is to keep this rigid and not let this fall, right? That's going to work all these muscles here. But also, we need to have extension in our hips too. Have a look from a side view. Now, when I see most people set this up, this is what happens to the hips, okay? So I don't know how well you can see that, but I've got this angle here. I need to use my glutes and my stomach to pop forwards. So I've got a straight line from shoulder, hip, knee to ankle, okay? And it's exactly the same for the kneeling version. Right, so that's how the exercise goes. Now let's talk about breathing. So with this one, it's the same concept, but it's the opposite. You breathe out when you're stationary, because it's when you're stationary that we need more pressure, right? So, here we go. So this is the hardest part of the exercise, the bit where you take a pause over here, and it's only really this stopping you from flopping down, okay? So we're gonna breathe out here, and then inhale as we come round, and hold for a second. Okay, that's your alternating side plank. Dead bugs, a little bit of coordination involved in this one. Let me show you very quickly. So starting position, knees directly underneath your hips with your knee bent at 90 degrees. Hands directly above your shoulders with your thumbs pointing behind you. Now, the first thing we do before we do anything else is we engage our abdominals. Okay, so at the moment I can get my hand underneath my back here. I'm going to brace and try and push my spine into the floor. Immediately you're going to feel your abdominals contract, and all I'm going to do from there is get opposite limbs away from the body, keeping that lower back pushed in, and return them away and return. Almost as simple as that. Now, breathing. So as we know, we breathe out when we want more pressure. There's going to be more pressure when you take limbs away from your center of gravity. There's going to be more of a demand for this to be pushed into the floor because there's going to be more weight trying to separate it. Okay, so that's when we're going to breathe out. And just like the first two exercises, we're going to breathe out through the duration of the movement, and we're going to take our in-breath at the easier portion where we're fairly stable. Okay, so listen to the breathing. Make sense? Also, the how far you go out will dictate how much pressure as well. As I said earlier, the further away from your center of gravity, the more demand for pressure. So if you feel as you're going out, you hit this sort of biting point where you actually can't control it and your lower back is coming off the floor, and you feel you're releasing tension here and getting tension at the back, then that's your biting point. Don't go all the way down. Even if it's just a few degrees away from vertical, that's absolutely fine. So those are all the exercises, guys. Should we get cracking? Alright guys, make sure you've got some water next to you and that you have had a warm-up. We are starting off with shoulder taps, 30 seconds a piece. Here we go. Alright, get into position. I'm going to show you with my knees down for everything this round. Okay, and off you go. Those wrists are directly under the shoulders. Remember, you can dictate intensity by the distance between your hands and your knees. Okay, mountain climbers, off you go. Okay, alternating side plank. Here we go. Don't forget to keep the glutes tight on this one, guys, and the elbow directly underneath the shoulder. Okay, quick 1 second or so hold in each position. Okay, lying down, dead bugs. Keep that lower back pushed into the mat the entire time. And remember, only go back or out as far as you can without that lower back coming up. And keep breathing, guys. Good, 30 seconds rest. 1 round down, 3 to go. Okay, so I hope you guys are getting on okay with the breathing and stuff. You can feel this working quite hard. Right, let's get ready for your shoulder taps. So you guys know the rules, wrist directly underneath shoulder. I'm going to show you knees up this round. that nice straight line from ankle, knee, hip to shoulder. Good. Mountain climbers, off you go. Alternating side planks. And remember, keep those glutes a little bit tight too, guys, so we can keep extension at the hips. Make sure that elbow's landing directly under the shoulder. Get ready for your dead bugs. Here we go. Straight into position, belly button towards the spine, and off you go. Good, 30 seconds rest, quick drink if you want. Okay, so it's quite hard to get the breathing rhythm with these, isn't it? But do bear with me on this because it's going to have a really good carryover to lots of other exercises you do, because any exercise worthwhile doing involves this to some degree. Okay, 10 seconds and then we're back to shoulder taps. I'll show you knees down again this time. And remember, you need to brace. Don't let yourselves rock around too much. Don't spill that beer.
Round 11.
Good. Mountain climbers.
Round 12.
Now in head position, guys. You don't want to be looking up and you don't want to be looking between your hands. You're looking just in front of you. Good, okay, alternating side plank, straight in, glutes locked in, and roll, breathe, inhale, good, dead bugs. Off you go. Good, 30 seconds rest. I need one more round to go. So on this next run I'll show you knees up again. So all these movements are quite slow, quite controlled, and I want you to keep them that way. Don't rush them at all. It's not about how many reps you do, it's about how well you can control when you move out in and out of those positions. Okay, last round, guys. Shoulder taps. Off you go.
Round 16.
Don't spill that beer. Keep the stomach tight. Keep the bum tight, head looking ever so slightly forwards, and wrist directly underneath shoulders. Good. Okay, mountain climbers.
17.
Side planks, let's go. Glutes tight, roll, exhale, hold, roll, exhale, hold. Shh. Shh. Get balance.
19.
Okay, hug your knees to your chest. Have a gentle rock from side to side and relax. Okay, that's you guys all done. Right, I hope you found that helpful and that all went okay. Like I said, learning to breathe and learning a little bit about how to create pressure and when you need pressure will have a great carryover to any exercise you do. So play around with the concept a little bit when you're doing other exercises. You'll find it really varies depending on the exercise, and you'll find you'll be able to do a lot more once it becomes a little bit more natural. So if you found that video helpful, please like, subscribe and hit the favorite button so you can just go into your favorites, hit it if you want to do it again at any point. Thank you for joining me.